Everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 376. Let's jump on in. Let's see what we can do here. We got all this light coming in behind me now. It's going to be a little distracting. Apparently, they make a thing called curtains, and you can put curtains over top of your windows, and it keeps the sunshine out. I didn't know about that stuff. I'm used to just being in a basement, so we'll see. We'll see if I can't deal with that at some point. But nonetheless, we do have both options for the new card pools here between the Maelific Descent Shyvana and then the Relic Tractures action. I'm going to go ahead and take the Shyvana here. My point in this is we still haven't had the chance to draft Vigio. And so if Vigio can show up in the second pack, that would be great. And then if he doesn't, it's reasonable enough to come in and just draft the Shyvana. This is a reasonably strong card pool. We've drafted her somewhat recently, and so if this does, kind of pivot into being a Vigio draft or something, then you can go back a few videos and find us taking Shyvana to 7 with this Shadow Isles Dragony thing. I don't think we even drafted Shadow Isles in the last. Yeah, we probably did. At any rate, if you're looking for a Shyvana-based draft and this one doesn't turn into that, we have one here recently. We've also drafted Action here pretty recently, and so he's quite powerful and available there as well. But let's take a moment. We'll get this Shyvana pulled up on the site. If you're not familiar with it, we're just over here at ftpbust.com. That's where I keep all of my expedition-related content. We'll just be over here on the main page or the little expedition helper button up here in the toolbar, however you prefer to get your way here. We can scroll ourselves down to this little drop-down box, and then this Shyvana thing will say all of the cards that live in this card pool. And so, kind of in the past, whenever it comes to drafting Shyvana, she's always been like hard required to be drafted with Targon. And kind of the thing that you would see in the past is from like the 4 drops forward, they would be just fine. You're going to have Shyvana at 4. There's the 4/4 Fury at 4, and then the 5/5 Fury Spell Shield at 5, and then you just have a big old pile of expensive dragons. And so once you were able to kind of like stabilize the board on turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, you were just able to take over the game. And so the big weakness that you would run into is that your early game was abysmally terrible. You had to go like super far out of your way to just take every egghead researcher. If we can find it in Dragon's Descent, yeah, the Dragon Guard Lieutenant, this Challenger guy, and then you would have to try and pick up the 2 cost to make a dragons cheaper out of Targon. And so that was like your big problem. You could easily go through the draft and like specifically be targeting the 2 drops and then just have like 2 or 3, and you would just get overrun in the early game. But now it's considerably easier to get yourself through these decks. Cards like Dragon Chow are now kind of like real cards. This used to just be abysmally terrible. There wasn't anything you could do with it other than be like, kind of Shyvana fodder. But now that we have some of these additional Shadow Isles dragons, specifically this 2-drop one, I think we can see it here in Viego. Yeah, now we have this 2-drop in Shadow Isles, the Crawling Viper Worm. It's extremely nice to be able to pick off that 1-cost unit. And so, having another guy here is pretty good. And so it pushes up the value of this previously unplayable Dragon Chow. Now that we have another 2-drop, we just have another guy that can come down early. And then all of the other things still just kind of stay the same. The mid game is still extremely good. The late game is still extremely good. She still has access to incredibly good removal spells between Concerted Strike being in pretty much every card pool, Screeching Dragon being one of the premier challengers, and then having a very easy time finding things like Strafing Strike down here at rare and single combat in the 2-cost space. And so this is quite the powerful card pool. In addition to having the additional 2-drop dragon in Shadow Isles, the Dragon Chow not being horrible, these pools also have the 2/4 for 3. Is that actually a Shadow Isles unit? That's not a Shadow Isles unit. It just doesn't live in this card pool. Where's the other Shyvanas at? Dragon's Descent should have it. But yeah, there we go. The Ruined Dragon Lord. And so even if you don't have Fury units, having a 2/4 for 2 mana really fills in as a way to clog up the board and just buy you a couple turns of time until you can get a couple dragons on the board and really stabilize. And so, all of the problems that this deck have in the past have been kind of solved. And so I still think if we're drafting Shyvana, you do want to go out of your way and try to find a Targon card or find a Shadow Isles card. I do think at this point in time, Shadow Isles is likely just a bit better. But we can talk about that a little bit more depending on what we get in the second pack. I don't want to drone on about all these dragons if we end up in Targon or if we end up seeing a Viego second. And so let's just go ahead and take this Shyvana, see what shows up, and see how we can piece this together. Okay, and so yeah, we did get the Kalista here, and so I will continue just to talk about this under the assumption that we're going to be out here drafting Shadow Isles cards. The problem with trying to take an Azir or a Sejuani are that they just don't add any dragons to the pool, and so if we're out here, of course, trying to build towards dragons because we have this ruined Dragon Guard and the Shyvana, it helps to have all of your card pools show up to potentially have dragons in them. And so I don't want to be seeing like taking this Azir and then seeing like a bunch of like landmark cards show up, right? They're just never going to do anything. The Sejuani could be okay, if we were just looking to draft a good cards deck, then all of these cards in the Sejuani card pool are quite good. But I really like to draft towards synergies, and none of these cards let us do any of that. And so, yeah, we can pull this back up on the site here. The things I do want to take a quick peek at, I pull up this Viego pool for just a second. This is the Shadow Isle side of the Shyvana that we're seeing here. And this does have quite a bit of the kill your own units theme. And if we're, we already have the Crawling Viper Worm up here, which is great. Kind of the thing that we run into we typically call these like a Slayer style deck. If you're, say, building towards a Kindred, the big thing is to have some kind of early game sacrificable unit. And so, in addition to really focusing on the early game, we're going to be focusing on some specific units, either the dragon based cards or these sacrificable units that replace themselves. So, Hapless Aristocrat's going to be quite important here. Cursed Keeper is quite important here. The thing that we don't want to find ourselves running into is if it's, say, like turn 5 and we have a Blighted Caretaker in our hand, we have a Spirit Leech in our hand, and then we don't have any units on the board to sacrifice. It's the real problem this deck can run into. And so I like to find these sacrificable units as the means to kind of take care of that. And so things like the Viper Worm, fixed that to a degree in being able to come down and just strike your Nexus. But ideally, with this Viper Worm, we would have a unit to strike with it so that it becomes a 4/3 on the second turn. And so that is kind of, the side I wanted to take with this. Again, there's some great cards over here in the Shadow Isles side. We have the Crawling Viper Worm as a dragon, the Kamavaran dragon as another dragon, these early game sacrificables in Cursed Keeper, Hapless Aristocrat, some premier mid-game removal in Black Spear, and then down in the rare slot we have the Great Game Ender and Atrocity, which we'll definitely try to find one copy of. That's very easy to get, like an 8-attack dragon and just close out the game. And then Blighted Caretaker, surprisingly not super important in this style of deck, but still good enough to want to come down and chase after. So I do want to pull up this Kalista for just a moment, though. We're not going to draft too many cards out of this Kalista card pool. This was the Retribution one. And so I just wanted to see if, these Kalista Retribution packs are showing up, what we're likely going to be seeing here. And there's not too much that's going to be on theme, but the big thing to kind of call out here is that Cursed Keeper lives in this card pool. That's one of these early game sacrificables we are looking for. Blighted Caretaker lives in this card pool. Just, again, not ultra important here like it would be if we were drafting around Kalista, but still quite important to pick up. And then the extremely good removal lives here. We have access to Vengeance in this card pool. We have access to Crumble in this card pool. And then to a lesser degree, we have access to things like the Ether Fiend. And so, yeah, this should be a good pairing. I feel like the last time we drafted Shyvana, we ended up with Kalista as well. But they're good friends as far as these cards are concerned. And so, okay, we've taken, a hot minute to talk about it. And so, of course, the big things we're going to be looking for here are just the early game plays. Egghead Researcher is kind of one of the premier ones. The thing with him is there's not like a whole lot of difference between the late game dragons. Like, we definitely want to have our 4 Shyvanas or 3 Shyvanas. We want to pick up 2 or 3 of the Challenger Dragon, but there's not a whole lot of difference between the dragons beyond that. We just like Shyvana because she's our champion and generates removal spells, and then the Challenger Dragon has Challenger so he can interact with your opponent's stuff. But with the things like the Researcher and Generating Dragons, we typically don't care what it generates because they're all just meaty units that are going to come down in the late game. And so I really like to focus extremely heavily on the early game and then just kind of let the late game stuff come to us. And so the way we'll kind of like tier this out is I definitely want to find like one Vengeance Concerted Strike kind of fits the bill and drops the importance a little bit, but I would love to find one Vengeance. After that, we're just going to pick everything that's really cheap, and then if it's not cheap, then we'll consider branching out into picking up some more expensive things. But the Egghead Researcher Sharpsight, a great start to what we're trying to do here. Okay, and then interesting. I haven't done like the hey let's just draft all the dragons cards kind of deck, and I'm kind of interested now that we have the Herald of Dragons showing up. This is just extremely good in the sense that it's really tough to beat the curve of Herald of Dragons on 2 and then Shyvana on 3. My typical worry with taking a card like Herald of Dragons is that this is like a super high rolly card, right? If we play it on turn 2 and then our opponent has like some kind of way to interact with it, so if they have like we play this on 2 and then they play a hired gun and give this vulnerable and just take it down, it's extremely terrible if you just lose a card for nothing. And then drawing this on like turn 9 is also horrible. And so this is, pretty high risk, high reward. I do really prefer to just be in the early game being like the researcher, the challenger unit, the cursed keepers and stuff. But let's just go all in on the dragons here. I haven't had the chance to draft all 3 dragon factions at the same time, and I think we should just be able to get a really, really synergistic deck going together here. Okay, and then this is an interesting set as well. We have the choice of 2 drops between the Researcher or the Dragon Guard Lieutenant, and they're both fairly equal. Having these early game interactive units is important. Having these late game generation units is important, and so I don't really care which of these we end up with. I would say I slightly lean towards the Researcher. But that's not going to be enough to warrant me to swap something here. But I think Cadrigen is going to be a little bit more important than Erika. Ideally, again, we may have access to like Vengeance or Crumble, additional Concerted Strikes. I don't think Captain Erika is going to be ultimately super important here. And so picking up, this is why I say don't go out of your way to draft dragons, because as you've kind of seen in the previous 2 packs, we had a 2-drop with an expensive. Here we have another 2-drop with an expensive. We don't really need to be going out of our way to add dragons to our deck, since these are just so easy to come in and pick up. Okay, so here, this one is, a little awkward. It does have a crumble, but I'm not really interested in Mist's Call. These can be okay. Like, if you're out here, like, replacing a 5-cost dragon, your opponent probably had to put quite a bit of work into it. So it's kind of easy to get a bit of value out of these, but I'm just going to go for the early plays here. We're not going to be, any kind of elite deck, but I just want these early game things to put on the board. Okay, and so here we go. This is perfect. This is kind of our, despairs don't count as vengeance, right? These can't come down and just kill anything, but it's slow, and so it's extremely important to have the access to the fast speed of the vengeance, but this at least lets me say that, like, okay, we don't have to go out of our way to find removal now between having Despair and having Concerted Strike, and so this is pretty good, picking up the Researcher as well. Okay, and then these cards, not that great. I do like the Wings and the Wave. This is extremely good in these style of decks, just giving us 2 sacrificable units right at the beginning if we want to play the if we want to play the Wave, and then otherwise having something we can sacrifice in the, or just a 3-stat unit we can have in the late game. It's not a bad deal. Soul Spinner is going to be pretty terrible here though, so I'm just going to come down and take the Conservator and the Remembrance. It doesn't feel like we're really going to be playing too much to the sacrifice your own units theme, and so I don't feel the need to go out of our way and pick those sacrificable units up. Okay, and then here, this set of cards just all around pretty weak. Succession Honored Lord is okay. I'm kind of actually leaning towards this. We don't have a whole lot in the way of elites, but having a 3/2 isn't that bad. I guess we don't really have any ways to give it challenger, though. All right, we'll just take the Conservator with Cadrigen. That's a little bit more on theme. It's not super good here, but this should be okay. And okay, nice. I do like a Golden Aegis in this style of deck. What you can tend to find with these decks is we take over the board with, our Cadrigens and our Envious Voxes and stuff, but our opponent's able just to like block through everything because we don't have Overwhelm on any of our units. And Golden Aegis getting that second attack in usually just closes out a game. But this is our Vengeance down here. We've got a 1-drop with a Vengeance that's extremely important and quite a good take. Okay, and so now the question is, do we want to stack two Vengeances? Because Vengeance Bark Beast is strong, but I don't think it's quite necessary. I'm not a huge fan of Behold the Infinite here, but we are getting to pick up our second Herald of Dragons, and so I'd like to just kind of go all in on this strategy here. Okay, then here this pack's a fairly easy take. We have some mid-game removal and single combat along with another 1-drop. Quite good to me. Oh, the Grand Plaza with a removal spell. Like, the Grand Plazas aren't, like, super interesting in this deck, but we don't have a whole lot of ways to interact with our opponents outside of Despair and Vengeance. So it can be quite good, but I don't want to be taking Zenith Blades. I think our 1-drops, we probably have enough of this early game stuff now, right? We have Warden's Prey, 2 Conservators, Aristocrat, Cythria, and then at the 2s we have 5 2-drops, so 6 with the Vanguard Defender. So I don't think the Warden's Prey Grasp is that necessary. I'm just going to take the Grand Plaza here. Okay, interesting set. The Kamavoran Soldier is okay. Anytime you have a 3/3 for 3 with upside, it's pretty reasonable, and so just being able to drop this on your opponent's turn and block 2 units is pretty good. But I'm going to take the Dragon Guard Lieutenant here. Hopefully we can trade away the Starry Scamp at some point, but I'm pretty happy to have these interactive early game plays. Okay, then Tiana shows up. I don't think we need to have Tiana in our deck. I'm not like really excited about making any of these trades. Our spell count looks pretty good at 10. 2 of those, I believe, are remembrances. 1 is remembrance, so it's not like we're super stacked on spells here. We're kind of like right at the cusp of having too many, though. But I think Black Spear, we don't really have like the sacrificable cards to make it pop off, right? We don't have the 2-drop dragon that comes down and sacrifices stuff. I thought, did we pick up 0 of the 4-drop one? Yeah, so we don't have a whole lot going on in that aspect. But again, I don't think like Tiana's real necessary here. Let's hang on to our 1-drop. I'm just going to skip over all of these. Dustbringer's not very good here. Hey, okay. So we do have to go and turn something premium. And if memory serves me right, this is going to like finally be Dragon Guard Lieutenant's opportunity to catch an upgrade. I feel like he hasn't been upgraded this whole time. He's like the best card in the land amongst turds, right? If we pull up all the factions, what Targon, Demacia, and Shadow Isles, like so many of these cards are just so bad. Like there's some new ones in here. If we take Unowned off, you see how we get down to these real turds. I guess Darkwater Scourge is okay, but this got taken out of Expedition for a long time. But the Dragon Guard Lieutenant's on theme and ready to go. Feeling pretty good about this. Okay, so let's jump on in. Pay to win, ready to play. So yeah, we got ourselves a pretty good little deck here. It's not the best like round 0 deck, right? We do have 2 of the dragon cost reducing thing. We have a bit of awkward cards in the early game, like we have all the sacrificable stuff, but none of the things to actually kill them with, and so we need to make some trades here. But we certainly have the card quality needed to make a run here. Okay, Vi and Zoe. See, that's not a bad start. We'll get rid of Behold the Infinite because it's just a little bit too much late game focused. And I'd like to hang on to single combat in the event that we get one of these draws to where we either can't give the Lieutenant Challenger, or we do try to give it Challenger and then our opponent has like an answer to it and we can't kill their Zoe. Then I'd like to have both of these options here. Okay, so we did pick up a dragon. We'll get to do something with this next turn. So as this is the end of the world, him just picking up the singular star chart. Okay. So do we want to just try and chase down the ballistic bot? Well, not now. We may be able to. He almost has to play Ignition at this point. Is this worth a single combat? This is just like aces his turn if we single combat this. I have to feel like if he had a Mystic Shot, he would have played it last turn. This is, a slight disaster if we try to single combat. Oh, it gets it now. Okay, never mind. I thought that the augment didn't happen until the spell resolved. Right, beautiful, beautiful. Love seeing him play Star Chart here. Just can't even play anything off of it unless I guess you hit the 1/1 challenger. But it seems like something you probably would have preferred to wait until next turn to play. All right, here if we add the Herald, we can add Cythria. We'll bank up to 3 mana, and then next turn we can play Envolus Vox in single combat if we need to. This should be enough to really push us over the edge. It's not even worth targeting. Okay. Well, the Herald of Dragons is okay to lose at this stage. We don't have too much going on otherwise. It's like, man, am I really getting disconnected again? Get that garbage out of here.
Go on, shake my hand.
Got it. Right, so looking pretty good. The snowballing and getting ahead on the board here, and so now we're even at the spot to where, if we just add a Remembrance, it's quite strong. Oh Vi, you're about to get popped with a vengeance. It's like, I guess the obvious hook is Cythria, but it's just like such a brutal thing to lose Vi to a like an Envolus Vox. That premium. This is why you make them premium, right? You gotta get your fast spells premium too, so they have to look at the little circle on the board. I got all the strategies. Copy Cythria. Okay, just to put something on the board. Wanted to go. That's weird. That seems like the last one you would want to be boosting here. We're good. Are we good with Cadrigen, or do we want to play the 4-drop and single combat? This would be a, like, say we play a 5/4, kill off one of these smaller ones. I think I'm okay with just going big. And then our full attack here should be good. Like if he wants, say he plays a random 5/5, right? Looks like he's gonna play a 5/6, but oh, so big, such stats. I was gonna say if it was a unit that we could deal with, I would be fine with just coming in and hooking it, and then attacking with everything. So he would either have to make the choice of getting a value block on our littles and getting blasted, or giving us the kill without losing a card on our big unit. But oh, things are happening here. This is still okay-ish. It could definitely be better, but man, 7/7's a little tough for us to manage. We can take a hit. I don't think we're at any kind of risk of dying here. Let's get Kalista going. This should be, kind of the kind of space to where we can get her flipped. Do worry about these big invokes. I'm hoping he's taking all this time because it was just like a bunch of the little ones and can't do anything with it. We can make do with the Grand Plaza. We're gonna have to override a unit when we play this dragon, but when is this? The elusive. It's gonna be a pain to deal with. And ally this little one. Dragon kick. Okay, may be able to get a kill with this thing next turn. Beautiful. Hit the Radiant so we can gain a ton of health here. Beautiful, beautiful.
Scoured from this land.
Okay. And the Scourge. So we're going to have to Dragon Kick this stuff away. Ally kicks the enemy into the Nexus, striking it. If it doesn't kill it, recall it. Right? Kicks the enemy into the enemy Nexus, striking both. Survives recall it. So do we need to actually strike with the Radiant? We can either do 6 damage by striking with one of our bigs, or we can gain 4 life. I don't think we need to gain here, so let's just strike with a 6. Now, hopefully we're wide enough just to get a kill here. Like, we can take the 10 hit from the Great Beyond. We can block Envolus Vox with our smallest unit. Say he blocks our 2 bigs at 6. We should be coming in for lethal unless he has another spell next turn.
Banish the unworthy.
Some stuff die, right? Yeah, so we can put Kalista on the right, so if something dies, we can pick up there. Nice. Okay. Oof. Little tougher to navigate than I wanted, but got there in the end. Okay, so Aurelian Soul didn't make an appearance here, but I would have to stop and consider if Aurelian Soul did show up. Just if we want to, say, draft 2 Shyvana, 1 Kalista, 1 Aurelian Soul, or just the 3 Shyvanas. You can see in that game, running into Invokes are always going to have a stronger late game than us, but we have like the next best late game in the game after Invokes. And so, like, but between Cadrigen and Envolus Vox, the little thing, what is this, the Egghead making 2 units, we tend to have enough late game, but I could still see a world where we want to pick up an Aurelian Soul just to kind of be sure. But here we're going to continue taking the Shyvanas. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. It feels good to be playing the dragons. We got demolished by dragons twice in our previous trial. We played the Fishbones deck and just getting completely shut down by 4 3s for 2 and 2 4s for 3. And so it feels a little nice to be on the other side of the table there. Let's see what we can do here against the old Predict deck. We'll just hang on to our early game plays. Try to find some more of them. A great start. This is the kind of stuff I'd like to be trading out. We have a lot of stuff that would be good to trade out, like Fading Memories, Starry Scamp. There's a lot of things here that don't really play to our themes. It's like Glimpse Beyond, I'm good to get rid of. The Soldier is whatever, not something we're really looking for, but it's not on theme. The Egghead Researcher was a nice pickup here. See what's going on. Maybe old Core Drag is playing at work, drop their phone in the toilet. Happens. Hate it when it happens. Okay. So I'll just open into this. I don't think... Oh, okay. We can just trade. I was going to say, I don't think we're going to get too much opportunity to get a good combat with Egghead Researcher. And so the idea was if he didn't have a card, I was just going to open with the Cytheria. But since the trade was there, then fine. Do we need to pick up a dragon already? Probably should. There's a good chance that, like, if we're going to play the Soldier on 3, then we may not have something by turn 4. So, okay. Time bombs are a go. And I'd like to go ahead and just try and chip away at Zillion. Cool, we got the damage in. People usually don't put too much stock in him being on the board. It's tough for Zillion to really do anything. So these are problems. We don't have an answer to the sump worker. Maybe we'll see if we can get by without playing Glimpse from Beyond. Uh-oh, our Vigios just got big. So this could be problematic. The Sump Worker deck is typically pretty good against dragons. We only have a couple of early game ways to come in and try and deal with these things. Let's do some attacking. There's no way that we're going to be able to stop him from playing a second Sump Worker here. So there is an argument that maybe we should play Glimpse Beyond to try and find either a single combat or to find a Dragon Guard Lieutenant, but our chances of drawing those are pretty low. Okay, probably just bank into next turn. I have to imagine if he had a second Sump Worker, he wouldn't be playing the Clockling here. Oh my gosh, we would have hit it. I think that's one of those things that doesn't make it a good play just because you would have hit it that one time. Gonna have to kill some stuff. we're gonna lose a lot of board this turn. Okay, we apparently don't have to worry about any more Sump Workers for the moment. Good to Glimpse Beyond. I'm okay to Starry Scamp as well, but let's see what we draw off of this first. Gonna pop us with a Mystic Shot. Oh, Time Trick. Sure. But okay, you can't play any cards now. And so the big thing going into next turn as well is that we're going to have to open attack onto the Sump Worker. We can't risk him playing a second Sump Worker before combat. And so not a bad pickup in the Defender. He can eat this point of damage from the Time Bomb. Then we're good to go here. How we want to do it though, I think I'm willing to give up on an attack here. Invalus Vox isn't that important at this stage of the game. Well, I mean, if he does have any removal spell though, we probably just we can't pass on this, I don't think. Hopefully we can manage these. But like this would just be a disaster if he has a removal spell, right? There's just too many removal spells he could have. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So he had the old removal spell. Now Zillion's going to get his flip next turn. I don't think that's a super huge deal. Okay. So hopefully we're at least big enough to just deal with these Sump Workers, right? He's going to get an attack in here. I think if he has one, just the singular one, we might be okay. And then if he has two, we're probably royally hosed. But single combat was a perfect pickup. Do we want to take this one? I think I'm okay with just taking this one. Okay. And how do we want to look at our next turn? Do we want to just play the Infinite Mind Splitter and shut down both of his units? Or do we want to try to get a challenger? I think the Mind Splitter is going to be the way to go. Then if he wants to block, the more power to him. Do they suit up in Mystic Shot? Alright. But you're welcome to block with these now. Heads up, these aren't combating anymore. Oh, lots and a lot of stuff happening here. Okay, I'm fine with whatever he's doing here. We can kill whatever we want at the end of combat. Okay, let's get the damage in before we try and pop his Zillion. I mean, he's got a suit up in his hand, so we're gonna lose our dude. Might as well kill his while we have the shot, or get the damage in before he can suit up for the kill back. We can easily get a super wide board here. And if he has another sump worker, that would be kind of disastrous, but otherwise, I think we're pretty strong here.
I've seen the future, and I know my path.
All right, I'm ready to block. Don't mind if I do. So we'll just not play the Herald of Dragons, and then we'll look to Brood Awakening next turn. This gets us the most stats on the board that we can. Okay, so I mean, not a guaranteed lethal. There's a lot of AoEs he could have within his factions here, but... Gross. Still not bad. We're still super far ahead here.
Come hither, you beasts of glory!
Come hither. It's the fading memories for the Undying, huh? Is looking for... We'd prefer to have a... we'd have preferred to have like one of the spell shielded units there. It's not what showed up, but that's okay. We can still make this work with the Scourge. I'd assume that's pretty positive for us if he doesn't have the answers in hand. Yeah, there's a lot of stats coming at you. Cool, got him. Let's see, what can we do here? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Get rid of the scamp for Egghead Researcher. That's a big upgrade. Just check these other ones. These aren't that important as far as the other upgrades go. We don't really need Crescent Guardians or Remembrances, so good stuff, good stuff. That was a little closer. Whenever I last put together the Sumpworks deck, I felt like we should probably really prey on the Shyvanas, but now that things are a little bit different, like if you go back to the way we initially talked about Shyvana in the draft, it's like, you don't really interact. You might play that the 1/3 on 2, and maybe you have a random 3/3 on 3. You know, your board's definitely going to get bigger as the dragons, but if your opponent's coming at you with 2/4/2 elusives that AoE everything, you get taken down quick. It's so important to be able to take down that first Sumpworks unit. We tried to in this one, we didn't get to, but it's so super important to try and take them down. I typically think Kindred should be a pretty bad matchup as well, but it's weird that they don't have the full amount of copies. So slightly awkward here in that we have the Dragon Guard Lieutenant and no dragons. So I think if we're starting with the Herald, we should be good to just mulligan out everything else. Can maybe, if we have to, behold the Infinite into a dragon. A lot of those expensive spell shieldy Celestials count as dragons, and so it might be a thing if we have to. But good, we found Cadrigen down here. And I think we'll just try and keep this board clear until we add the Lieutenant. If we get a value attack on this Reaper, that would feel pretty nice.
Another day guarding the walls. Prepare for battle.
Nice. Oh, the Cadrigens. Unfortunately, can't get anything else on the board. I mean, we can add the Herald of Dragons now. Might as well add the Conservator. But let's bank up to 2. I could never tell how clever these Sharma decks are trying to be, as trying to put down the backdoor the backdoor vulnerable. But it seems like they just don't have anything, and so I'm willing to get busy on this board here. We should be able to interact with anything they throw at us. Okay. That's fine. Kalista is by no means the centerpiece of our deck, and so getting through the extra turn for that was kind of nice. Ooh, if they don't open, we can get a quick Cadrigen down. This is where Kindreds start to be a problem. We don't have a way to, just shut this down. And so if we start to lose out on our small units here, and the Kindred thing spreads out across them, it starts to be a bit problematic. But we do have some small boys to be throwing down here, so hopefully this is enough. Start with the Warden Spray. Maybe they'll spend some mana before we show that we can get Challenger, but it's a little dangerous, right? If our Herald of Dragons got popped with something, then we would be super struggling, not being able to play our unit. Be too much that they can deal here. Sharpened Resolve is okay. I don't care to lose this combat. I just can't have him keeping Kindred on the board. Go. Vengeance is always good. Oh my gosh, kitty, come on. Come on. Come here. Come on. Yeah. Oh my goodness. She is a talker. Alright, kitty acquired. This should be going good now. Nothing could go wrong. Well, as far as this turn is, I'm glad the kitty... Oh, and she just immediately leaves. I was going to say, I'm glad the kitty shows up when opponents just sitting around not doing anything. So... how much do we realistically care? Fine. I mean, we still, at the end of the day, get to add our Dragon Guard Lieutenant to the board and get a 2-for-1 out of the Vengeance. I guess that's nothing to be complaining about. One short of lethal. Oh no, this can lethal if he doesn't have another play. I think we just go for it, right? Yeah, we picked up 2 dragons though. Fine. Could be a mistake. If he's able to get wider than us, Like if they have something to put 2 units on the board. This one's kind of awkward as well, but I think we're manageable here. So is that how we want to do this, or do we? Yeah, we can't really force a good block. If this was like a 7 attack dragon, we'd want it on the left, I think, but I think we're good with just with the little to big here. Maybe we should have put Shyvana down on the right since she can flip and get another bonus damage. Seem to 2. Okay. Yeah, that was probably a little sloppy. We missed out on a point, but it's okay. Hopefully we're just far enough ahead that it doesn't matter, but we'll see. Good at seeing the play after the fact. It's a little less important after the fact than during the play, but yeah, here, pick up the Traveler. Continue the value train. That's what I was looking for. I wanted one of these big spell shielded things. And then as we talked about with these earlier, right, this guy counts as a dragon. And so when I was mentioning that if we need to find a dragon, we might be able to Beyond the Infinite into one. And the Great Beyond is an example of that. But I think this one's done. Sad faces. Okay, something like that, I guess. Excellent. Alright, so, I mean, with the way these have been going, I think even if Aurelian Soul shows up in our champion packs, I'm still just okay to pick up the Shyvana. Okay, we're not given the choice here. There are, a handful of dragons over here with Viego, but these dragon cards do suck. There's no 2 ways around that. But again, I think we just need to stack on the early game. If we get the opportunity to trade away that Radiant or trade away the Dragon Guard Lieutenant, then fine. We have a lot of very good trades in our deck, and so I think like as is, our deck is capable of 7 wins, but we do have a lot of really good trades. And so everything should just be improvements from this point forward. Hey, and not a bad start. What is this, Quinn Darius? I'm trying to think if we want to hang on to Despair. I think we can let this go. His champions don't really play well into that kind of removal. He was playing like a, with Zoe or a Teemo or something where we have to get a removal spell down early. I think it would be okay, but there's not going to be anything coming out of this deck where I was like, oh gosh, we have to deal with this early. Piltover's in here for. So yeah, I mean, as we look at the deck, as I was talking, like Remembrance, I'm trying to load it on the left here. Remembrance can go, Dragon Guard Lookout can go, Radiant Guardian can go, the Grand Plaza I'm even okay to get rid of, and then wanting to find more early type plays. And then on the bottom end, things like Fading Memories can go. We can get rid of some of these 1-drops. I still, they play out fine in stalling out the game, but they aren't ultra important here. Let's take damages here. We're going to add the Grand Plaza. And so, like I said, we have a bunch of good trades that we can eventually make, but not quite there yet. How do we feel about just passing here? Okay, well, he's added a lot of stats to the board, so we're not going to do that kind of thing. But if he just passed to us because he didn't want his good unit to get hit by the Grand Plaza, I think I'd feel pretty good about just passing there. Our board is a little weak here. I think what I'm looking to do here is just I'm gonna glimpse beyond whatever he hooks with the Screeching Dragon, and then take this 4, glimpse beyond. Oh, we can actually sharp sight this one. Rather just go ahead and get the takedown now. Right, and then we'll have to save the single combat. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, Nexus, please. I just want to get a dude on board. That could be a mistake in that we just put ourselves into Darius range, and I'm pretty sure we still have a unit on the board. Just a visual bug. But if we're able to, get a hook with the Involus Vox and pick up a dragon off the Fury, we can start to get pretty far ahead. It's just the Darius is a little worrisome now. I guess we can deal with that thing later with a single combat. Oh, we're just getting a trade? Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. That's quite surprising to me. Okay, and so how do we feel about the dragon killing Involus Vox? I do like the value that we're getting out of this thing. Okay, I think we can single combat. Like, if we get to pick up another dragon here, this is good. And then if you had a Darius, I don't think he would have just played Darius, but it's tough to tell. Ooh, we're getting far ahead now. Depending on what he has, if he only has 1 unit next turn, then we can lethal him. Right, we can Warden's Prey, this is going to have Challenger, we can add Eclipse Dragon, it's going to have the bonus, and so if he plays like a 7-drop here, get the hook with the Warden's Prey, then just get in with all of our dragons. Nice, nice. Oof. Good stuff. Righty, so what you got for us, game? It's interesting. I'm never trading away this single combat, but we have choices here with our 1-drops with Cytheria and the Aristocrat. I'm kind of leaning towards just trading out the Aristocrat for the Ruined Dragon Guard. Both kind of early game plays. I don't like that we don't have any Screeching Dragons, but I also don't really want to be adding more expensive stuff to our deck. But on the flip side, Cytheria is the weakest of our 1-drops, and so she just doesn't do anything other than have a couple more points of stats. So I think I'm going to be okay to get rid of her and pick up the singular Screeching Dragon. Again, ideally we would have like 2 or 3. And so if we're able to trade away like Remembrance, Dragon Guard, Radiant, then having the Screeching Dragon looks much better. Oof. All right. Hydrate and resume. Looking good. Terrible game, lols. Dude, this is a great game. I've had quite a bit of fun. You don't get around to making 300-some videos, not having fun with the game. But, okay, so here, I'm going to get rid of Involus Vox, hang on to Despair Herald. The thing here is, if we don't play anything on 1, then on turn 3 we can Despair a Teemo. So he can potentially get in 1 hit with the Teemo if he has one. If we bank this mana. Picking up Shyvana is kind of the awkward thing in this sense that now we're going to be kind of looking to like Herald into Shyvana. If we want to Despair the Teemo, he does get a Nexus Strike on us, given that that's what Despair does. And so it's a little scary, but I think at this point we just have to go on the Shyvana plan. Maybe we can get enough stats on board and clear this stuff out. So I was like, I don't think he ever like realistically blocks Shyvana. Okay. Sure why he would play the Ignition first if he wanted to give the bot a point of stats or something.
Take from the rich, give to me.
Single combat.
I smell fear.
All right. Well, hopefully this isn't too greedy. There's a pretty good chance the Shyvana doesn't make it out of this turn. We'll have to see. I mean, if the opponent doesn't have any cards, then the Fury will protect her, right? She'll get through at the end. But if he has some way to interact with Shyvana, then she's going to go down. Ooh, beautiful. Doesn't get better than that.
Take a look at this.
Okay. We had the potential to glimpse beyond here, but it doesn't feel like it's super necessary at this point. Kind of trying to envision this world where we get to we get to play Despair at some point. Shyvana just shows right back up. Want to play her? I think just having the big dragon seems better.
You name it, I'll do it.
Get in there.
Don't mind me.
Go. So this is going pretty good. Got a board that he can't successfully deal with. The ballistic bot's about to get annoyingly big, but it's just going to be trading with a dragon, right? It's not something I'm ultimately super afraid of. Okay. Seems a little greedy. I don't know why he's dropping that now, but maybe they don't have Puffcat Peddlers in their deck or something.
Dragon blood, Demacian heart.
We do got these premium Shyvanas in our deck. That's all that really matters, right?
The chains, they never stop.
Okay. Quite play both, but easy peasy.
Victory for Jarvan.
Victory for Jarvan. I forget, aren't Shyvana and Jarvan an item? Isn't that what the deal is? I don't know anything other than Lucian and Senna being a group of lovers. But here, all right, we can get rid of the defender for a herald. Again, these pretty high rolly, and we don't have the kind of mid game dragons to really abuse these things. But that's a 2-drop. It's a decent replacement for Vanguard defender, and so welcome to the squad, Herald. We've gotten some decent usage out of it though, turning these 6-drop dragons into 5s. Make all the difference. But again, the big one is just playing the Herald on 2, Shyvana on 3. Haven't even seen any of that 4/4 for 4 Targon dragon. That would be a pretty strong pickup for us at this point, having the 3 Heralds in our deck. But yeah, looking pretty strong here. The dragons are not bad these days. It makes me kind of wonder. I talk a lot about, mainly in regards to the Riven card pool, to where there's 4 Rivens out there, but there's 3 Shyvanas out there as well. And so kind of my thing with it is there's a lot of overlap in the cards that are in the pools that are pretty good. Like I think Challenger Dragons probably in all of them is a point of example. And so if there's again, I don't know how many card pools there are, but there are 15 Demacia card pools, and 3 of them, those 15 are Shyvanas. Then you have a much better chance of seeing these specific cards that you want. We initially saw this happen with Jarvan, overlapping with Garen. Now there's just a ton of Riven card pools. That if say we're drafting a champion that there's only a single copy of, like say Lux. If we're trying to find Remembrance with Lux, there's just a handful of card pools that actually have it. So if there were like 3 Lux card pools that all had Remembrance in it, it would be much easier to find her. So just a thought, the strength in these things getting additional card quality is definitely there. What is this Twisted Fate action? Not playing 3 actions. Weird. Okay, do we just want to fully bank? Or do we want to get a dude on board? Dude on board doesn't do a whole lot, but getting banked up to 2 mana is kind of the magical place. Picking up removal spells. If he just doesn't block the Viper Worm, then we can harpoon away action. That's pretty sweet, right? No. I was gonna say whatever you're about to do, I do not approve of. Fine. Okay, but our curve just got really good. Picking up Shyvana here, Challenger Dragon next turn, and then having the means to harpoon afterwards. Pretty dope. Ooh, and then just no play from opponent.
I am watching you, dragon.
They play like another Weight of Judgment. It's not that bad for us. Payday onto action. Why? What would you ever want here? Like what Payday card protects him from the Screeching Dragon? Unless it's just like trying to say put like +2 attack on him and get him flipped or something. Do not understand this one. +2 health. I could see that doing stuff. He's gonna need the Challenger Bow, whatever that thing's called. I think this Screeching Dragon. Oh, ooh! I was like, I think the Screeching Dragon's not surviving today, but no, not the course of action I expected to see. He had access to the bow with this one, right? That's the bow thing is the action flip. Oh, grappling hooks is flip. Okay. But we need to pop this now before he has the... this isn't the Spell Shield one. That's the flip that has the Spell Shield one. But I think we definitely want to just go ahead and pop him now. Premium harpoons. That's why you got to premium those card generators, right? Does that deny? Does that make him lose a mana crystal though? Okay. Right on that, aren't I? Right of negation, is that what that's called in this game? Yeah, Rite of Negation. Destroy one of your mana gems to stop an enemy thing. Stop all enemy things. Okay. Still seems positive for us. Blunder do we ever care about? Huh. So, I mean, how are we realistically going to do this? I think I just want to, like, get the Plaza down. And then bank this 3 mana for a Vengeance forever turns away from now. I think this is good. Get both the Dragon Lord and the Lieutenant down next turn. I guess if we want... It's annoying. If we want, we could... look to just get something else down next turn. We're just gonna have to vengeance this action though, aren't we?
What's the fire breath this time?
Might have to just wait a couple turns.
Know to stay out of the way.
Sharp Sight does let us do stuff, but I wanted to be able to get a Radiant down. Maybe Radiant's just gonna have to wait till next turn. Just kind of scary trying to slam units into action. These decks have tons of combat tricks in them.
Far as the eye can see.
Awkward. Okay. Wait till next turn. I think our health is fine. We have this Radiant back here. It's the means of dealing with this other stuff. Nice. Okay, definitely feeling better now. Definitely feeling better. Can't open for lethal, but he's going to have a real treat of a time dealing with our units from this point forward. Okay. That's probably about as, I guess that's about average, right? 2 to a unit, 2 to a unit, and 1 to face.
I don't change fate, but I can see it.
Okay, let's see what kind of good stuff we get going here. It's just impossible to play units into these.
Suffer my fury. Now I
Alright, Shyvana, get him for them damages. Gotta be pretty tough to recover from, right? Well, I guess if we get disconnected, then that's one way to lose the game. There it goes. Probably gonna pick. Oh, he drew 2 and didn't pick up his biggest unit. Okay. Seems like he's playing cards just to play cards.
I'm something of an aspiring trichologist.
I fight for the fallen. Where do you stand on
Okay.
cold shots?
That'll do it. It's just playing cards. Yes, we may not be able to lethal next turn, but let's see. Living Legends, that'll work. Give us a way to come in and try and pick up the Scourge or some just big game closer.
Not the egg.
Sure. Radiant survives this, and we just go up a ton of health. Like, this seems extremely good for us. Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean we're of course looking for one of the big spell shielders, like the Great Beyond, like we had last time. We could pick up the Scourge. That should do it. The big Overwhelm is probably pretty close to ending this. Let's see what we can hit. Might hit. 3 or less power only gets rid of the 2 blockers. This was a pretty weak one. I guess the Golden Sister is quite good here since he probably doesn't have an answer to the elusive.
Daylight star will rule the skies.
Wouldn't be opposed to overwriting the Grand Plaza. Red card. Suspicious. It's only got one card left though.
But war is futile.
Okay, so yeah, we can't lethal this turn, but so far ahead. He's out of cards, so we can just try and pick up our perfect attacks wherever we can. This attacking, you die to a... Still has Challenger, Shyvana. Oh no, you're never doing that. These can get in. Shyvana can hook something that can't kill her. I'm okay to lose our dragon. Radiant never goes away. Okay. We're getting there. Come on, the serpent. You cost 0. And all right, yeah, I mean it's not bad. Ideally, we would have ended the game that turn, but that was a pretty low quality, pretty low quality, whatever spell, Living Legends.
No time to form up. Ride.
Oh, it's a confront. I thought that was going to be a dragon single combat. Got him. So cool. Dragons have no remorse. Got it. Noted. Could be good to know for the future, am I right? So, alright, what do we got to do before we get into the final battle here? Trading out Fading Memories is good. These 4-cost dragons, again, something that can turn into 3 mana. Maybe this will let us do the thing where we say play a Conservator on 1, a Herald of Dragons on 2, then Kamavaran Dragon on 3. So not a bad addition to our deck here. Crawling Viper thing is also quite good. Glad to pick that up. We don't need Glimpse Beyonds. We have no issues with our mana. So here, I think I'm okay to get rid of Despair for another Dragon Guard Lieutenant. We'll have the 1 Despair, we'll have the 1 Concerted Strike we haven't drawn the entire trial, and then the 1 Vengeance, which is pretty good. And then we have 4 more trade picks. Maybe we'll pick up like a Molten Breath or something along the way. But with this one, I think I want to hang on to the Bold the Infinite. I do like the kind of versatility that this has as opposed to picking up like our 4th Dragon Guard. I think I'll skip over that one. These are not that exciting. I don't want Star Charts. Concerted Strike would be fine, but just not for a single combat. I like the mix of removal and Grizzled Ranger. It is cheaper than Remembrance, but it's just not really on theme with what we're doing. I'm going to skip over this one. Keeping Sharp Sight, keeping Concerted Strike. Don't want Missed Call. This is an easy set of skips. And our last one. So let's see. I don't want the Lookout or Erika. Do we want to trade the Aristocrat for the Viper Wing? That's kind of close. What are we at? We have 5 1-drops, 4. We probably just have to hang on to the Aristocrat, especially now that we've picked up a Viper Worm and a Kamavaran Dragon. We need to have something to sacrifice in the early game. We don't have a lot of means to do that. We didn't really craft our deck to be ready for the sacrifice stuff. I kind of tried to like keep in the back of my head that some of these cards might show up, and we might end up with 3 or 4 or 5 of these sacrifice dragons, but I didn't want to particularly count on that being a thing. It's just you can get slightly awkward with these decks if you have like 6 or 7 of these 1-cost, Cursed Keeper kind of cards, and then like 1 or 2 ways to sacrifice them. So I think our numbers turned out okay here. We might get a slightly awkward draw, but I think we're looking good. Alrighty, found ourselves that perfect opponent. Ooh, this has been nice. Shyvana's running right through this one. It was interesting. I kind of have a way to tell when it's been forever since I drafted a champion, just with the background image I use. And I hadn't actually, like, until this most recent Shyvana trial, I hadn't actually built around her for like 200 trials. It was something completely absurd, in the amount of time that it had been since we drafted her. So with this hand, it can be kind of awkward, but it has everything we need in the early game. So if we have to come down and play like the egghead first to make this stuff work by turn 4, then so be it. But here, I wanted to start with the. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and attack. We're going to play Shyvana on 3. I wanted to start with the Warden's Prey, because if it dies, then you have some playable cards that can come out of the last breath, whereas the Conservator were never playing a 6-cost card this early.
Victory requires a sharp blade.
Oh, I guess this will come in and eat our Herald of Dragons. I don't want to just like lose Shyvana this turn. So if we take 2 from action, the Glory Seeker kills the Herald of Dragons, then so be it. We can play Shyvana next turn. I was gonna say, you're never just passing it back, right? if you wanna pass it back to us, I'm completely okay with that. The Egghead, we want the Lieutenant. We can go ahead and add the Hapless as well. We don't have any spells here.
That egg, did it move?
The fight just isn't the same without you, Anna.
I am always here when you need me.
So they have some annoying cards that they could play here. Like the Payday Generator, the 5/3 Profiteer would be kind of awkward, but the 4/4 that gives something +2 attack and something -2 attack would also be reasonably bad. But if at the end of the day, I think like ideally, it just plays a unit that doesn't positively interact with Shyvana, and then we get a combat trick out of the Lieutenant into action. I think that would be, ideal and realistic as to what could happen this turn. Not a problem. I wonder if they just don't have any like 3-cost units, or if we probably are about to run into just a bunch of big units now, right? They just didn't have anything to do here. Okay. Weird.
Fixing the world one scoundrel at a time.
Really just looking for a flip that bad? Why would he put the damage on Shyvana? I assume this is gonna predict and draw. There's not much reason to be adding Sandstone Chargers to this board. Hopefully our draws are just good from here. As much as we were worried about our ability to draw a single 1-drop, picking up 4 of them was a little bunch. a little more than we needed. But so we'll see what the Egghead generates for us. But these are the kind of spots where I'm talking about where like Herald of Dragon can be awkward. Like we had the first one down, it kind of did its thing. It at least got a trade and wasn't just a straight loss. But then if we draw a Herald of Dragons now, it's just pretty much a dead card at this point forward. And these units are never getting in for damage, so let's just go ahead and prevent. Pesky Spectre, hells yeah. I think we're good to bank here. Yeah, bonus health. Okay. Yeah, this hand is a bit awkward. Don't have a good attack with the White Flame or the Viper Worm. Let's just eat some stuff and see what happens. I mean, we probably need to try and just chunk some damage into the Bruiser, but... Think about that. This is bad. We are definitely falling behind now. I thought this was the Emperor's Ascension. I was like, oh no, this is just completely dead.
Confine and contain.
Right. Well, this is quite worrisome. Yeah, at least there's nothing to do. Oh boy, and Jarvan. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, we can blast him with Sand Soldiers if we want. Ooh, the Battle Fury though. The Battle Fury always opens our world up to interesting possibilities. These things can't attack this turn, right? So we need to find something different to do if we want to chase down the Emperor's Divide. This is lucky find. Okay.
The skies darken with their approach.
So the question I have is, can we get wider than him? Well, even if we can't get wider than him, we can't quite kill with a Battle Fury, but... Damn, it's so close to getting that Battle Fury kill. Maybe we could do it across 2 turns, though. Wonder if this was the mistake adding the Herald, and then we should have just gone for an Emperor's Divide turn. Or if we should have just played the White Flame Protector, just to get in maximum damage. Okay. I think that's the way we have to go. We have to try an Emperor's Divide here. Play some units post-combat, and then try to get a... Oh, we're not going to be able to get wider than him after this turn, though. F. Either like an elusive or an overwhelm. Alright, well let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. I wanna just chunk in the damage. Like, he's gonna get an extra unit, but we can get in for 4 damage, right? If we just throw the Sand Soldiers to face. I guess the magic number to get him to would be 9. So we have a 1 attack unit with a Battle Fury on it as our way to win.
Ours is but to do and die.
Oh god, just pop spell shields? Ugh. Gross. Okay. I guess one of the perks of him having the Warlord's Horde on the board is that one less blocker he can have.
I'll follow where I can.
Okay. I want to attack with the Egghead Researcher. It seems like the juicier of blocks for him. So we need a 2 attack unit to get in now. Ugh. Gross. It's like, I knew this game was over a while ago, but it's like we just have these edge cases where we can still win because we drew Battle Fury. Play your cards a little faster, boss. We're either going to get wider than you or we're not. So gross. We got to get in for a 4 attacker now. I don't know if we can do that.
I write the rules of power.
This dragon is positively otherworldly.
Okay, so if he hooks with our 2 units, he's only getting in for 6. That's a lethal. Okay, it's done. Ooh, not. Well, if we're gonna be real, this one's done. But we can't do this. Let's just go ahead and end this one. This guy's playing too slow. But yeah, I mean that draw was a little too awkward. We just didn't line up well with what our opponent was doing. We drew actual like 100% of our early game and nothing to do beyond that. So kind of is what it is. I feel like that's one of those matchups to where it's probably more along the lines of a coin flip or might be a slight favorite. I don't feel like action's that strong against us, but the draw there was completely awkward where we couldn't really do anything. So is what it is. Fell a little short of the 7 wins, but not a bad trial nonetheless. And so yeah, I think we've really kind of like hammered home how to draft these Shyvana decks. And so kind of like the reasoning I stopped drafting Shyvana, it was just like super straightforward. There were no real decisions in the draft. It was basically, does this unit cost 2 mana? Then take it. And then your next thing would be like, okay, there's no 2 cost units. Is there a removal spell? Take it. Okay. And then if there's no removal spell, is there a dragon in this pack? Okay, then take it. And it's just like from a drafting perspective, there was just never anything that was really a decision maker. And I still feel the same way if you're drafting Shyvana plus Targon, right? If we are going after this Herald of Dragons thing, I was kind of interested in seeing how the 3 factions played out here. But we didn't really get any advantages or bonuses from adding Targon in. The only Targon cards we're playing outside of these 3 Herald of Dragons are the Envolus Fox and then the one the one Behold the Infinite that we didn't throw away. And so would we rather just like have more shots at like, you know, the Targon Dragon cards and things like Egghead Researcher, Dragon Guard Lieutenant? I mean, probably. And so I think I do like the Shadow Isles version more than the Targon version, just because the you know, the dragons are also similar. But being in Shadow Isles, you get access to the better removal spells, and you get access to cheaper dragons, as opposed to being in Targon, where tend to have just, you know, better late game because you pick up a couple invokes and you might have an Aurelian Soul or something in your deck. But I think, you know, if you are overdrafting the Shadow Isle side, I'm okay with jumping in and trying to do a few more of these drafts. There are some reasonable decisions to be made there. And you know how much early game to take, and to which you know, removal spells to be picking up and such. And so it's a little more in depth drafting the Shadow Isles version. But I do think though, you know, Shyvana does continue to be quite strong in the sense that you know, there's 3 of the card pools. We touched on it a little bit, but you know, if we pull them up real quick and you take a look at this and you're going to say, okay, well, what's the, you know, the most important card for Shyvana to find? It's going to be, you know, Dragon Guard Lieutenant and Egghead Researcher, to a lesser degree the Dragon Guard. But you know, the Dragon's Descent has all 3. The where's the next Shyvana? Fist of the Dragon has the Researcher and the Dragon Guard, no Challenger. But then the Maelific Descent has the Researcher. Really weird that this doesn't have the Dragon Guard, but you know, that's like I said, you know, there's 3 card pools that have the Egghead Researcher in it, and so, you know, if we're drafting out of Demacia only, and there's 15 Demacia champions, 3 of them are Shyvanas, then we kind of have 3 shots at the Researchers again, like opposed to a Lux, where Lux doesn't have additional Lux decks and she doesn't get as many copies. And so I'm kind of interested in how that plays out and how Riot handles it as far as adding these champions, multiple copies of the same champions to Expedition. I personally kind of feel like somebody from the marketing department was like, "Hey, we're going to release a pool party skin, make these more make these more manageable and more likely to be seen." But who knows? Maybe they were expecting more out of Riven, and it just didn't happen because there's not the density of cards that she needed. I can't imagine her win rate was low, but with Riven, I never want to draft more than 1 copy since she doesn't do anything. But back to the draft here. We can let that aside go for another day. Again, if you are out here drafting Shyvanas, the kind of tier list I mentioned earlier is likely what you're going to run yourself into. We had no shortage of late game. If you ignore that last game, even with that last game, if just like one of these early game plays was an Egghead Researcher, it would have looked quite different. But again, drafting this on your own, this is the problem with this deck is your mana curve, and so you need to find these early game plays. After the early game plays, you look for the removal spells. After the removal spells, you look for cards that say Dragon on it, and then below below that tier, you just take two cheap cards. And so I think I have to say I do not recommend drafting 3 factions, and so I would want to either be Shyvana plus Targon or Shyvana plus Shadow Isles. Both are good enough to take you to 7, but I don't think jumping into the 3rd faction added us enough card quality to really pursue. And I think as kind of the last statement, I doubt that Shadow Isles plus Targon dragons would be that good. So if we ignore Demacia completely, we want to make a dragons deck with, say, Vigio and Aurelian Soul. It could be, potentially doable. I do like the Herald of Dragons leading into both Kamavaran Dragon and leading into the 4/4 for 4 out of Targon, and so you can still get some pretty decent draws, especially if you're, say, like starting with the Aristocrats, following with the Herald, and then getting a 5/4 Dragon on turn 3. That kind of makes up for not having Shyvanas and stuff, but I can't imagine that overall that theme is stronger than playing Shyvana. But if you start with Aurelian Soul and have to take Shadow Isle second, then maybe if you started with like the otherworldly creatures Aurelian Soul that pairs into Freylord, you go into pack 2 and don't see Demacia, but there is like Vigio, then maybe you could do it that way. But it doesn't seem like a tier 1 thing that you're looking to right from the start. Nonetheless, we missed our 7, but I had a good time with that trial. I thought that was pretty fun. I do enjoy drafting the dragons, but let's go ahead and click on our rewards, see where we get ourselves at the end of the day. All the champions that we don't find, and move on with it. Cool, picked up an epic. Let's see what's happening with the event pass. Nice. Ooh, we're gonna get a prismatic chest after this one. That was a fairly unimpressive diamond chest, right? Just all commons. Maybe you have to get a little farther along to just roll past the commons. I've never paid super close attention to these things. Here come the rares and stuff. All right. Welcome to the squad, rares. And some shards. Cool. We gotta check our shards. I'm curious how close we are to a 250,000. We've been encroaching it here recently. But with these, man, this is a tough one. With the Azir and the Sand Soldiers not being as good anymore, I think we want to come in and take the Siren. But the Clocked Hand does generate cards, and so that's always our kind of go-to for turning things premium. If it's premium and generates another premium, and that's like double the value right there. Okay, then we got some kind of card back. We didn't pick the Ruined side. We picked the Sentinels, so that's fine. Getting pretty close to the end here, making our way through. It's good stuff. Was this a weekly chest? No, it's a loot box. Oh, pushing something to the front here. The Sentinels of Light icon. Good for us. That is going to do it for us today. So I hope you all learned how to draft your dragons a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.